Peace. So single day. All right. So if you're going to talk about racism every single day, then through what lens are you viewing racism? And then how is it that we as a people who have to survive in America should respond to this kind of stuff? You watching it from your comfortable home, all right, playing armchair revolutionary with the remote in your hand, all right? You don't have any fear. But what about the people, black people that live in Charlottesville, Virginia, and in the surrounding area, all right? And notice, if you really listen closely, those neo-Nazi, now I heard the gentleman say the average neo-Nazi now, I mean, and KKK and alt-right, they got suits on now. But we've always known that. They're not walking around skinheads with tattoos of the swastika, skull and bones, and all this kind of stuff. You know, some of them do, but yeah, it's hard to identify. And excuse my ignorance. I was looking at the news and I'm saying, I can't tell one from the other. So I don't know the alt-left, alt-right. I don't know who was who. I'm just seeing people are going to blows. What did disturb my spirit, and I know y'all may think I may sound kind of weak when I say this, but that's on you. That's fine with me. I'm good. I'm secure in my manhood, so I'm fine. When the white boy punched a woman, I saw her double back on him and put that work in, but I'm saying some of y'all might leave a crazy, stupid comment and say, well, that's a white woman. She shouldn't have been out there, or yada, yada, yada. No, I'm saying this dude putting his hands on any woman it should be disturbing to you as a man. But I'm saying to you, deeper than that, for them to run over a woman, and then the president comes on TV with no remorse, not even commenting, not even what Van Jones has said, not even offering condolences to the family of the woman that lost her life. And I believe it was 19 other people either in jail or in the hospital. All right. So tonight, with all that said, all right, I want to talk about the whole idea of protesting. So I heard over and over and over and over and over. Now listen, I don't have a fact-finding team that call me and give me stats and facts. All right. If I don't get it when it's happening, process it, write a few things down to be able to put some kind of information together to talk and to present. All right. Then the small little shows that myself and other people that are on the front line dare to do. All right. It gets overwhelming sometimes, because when you talk about the president of the United Snakes of America, you're talking about a fact-finding research teams of about at least 2 or 3 dozen people that are bringing this information into a small think tank that surrounds him and feeds and gives him information and then writes the script. All right. So by the time it ends up on his desk or in front of him and they're briefing him, all right, all of the facts are already there. So he's a liar when he says all of the facts are not in. Yes, all of the facts are in. All right. They're in already. So I'm just saying, protests. And y'all can talk straight to me. All right. As y'all know, those of y'all that have called me, my phone number is 678-557-2919. Oh, is it this way? Oh, there you go. Y'all can call me. All right. And I'm saying that, and I'm doing that simply because there's no secretary that's going to answer the phone. You call me directly and speak directly to me. I'm saying to you that when the information comes directly to me, all right, this happened on Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, all right, over the weekend. I saw some of the bobbleheads on CNN and some other places talking about it. And we have to come to a general consensus about certain things, but other things we have to filter. All right. We have to filter. And the filtering of that information is the process that we have to go through in order to present this kind of information. So let's talk about protests. All right. So when we as black people protest, all right, of course the signs are up, the placards are made, we're yelling and screaming slogans and this kind of thing. We may lock arms and sing, do the remix to some Negro spirituals. You may even have one or two radical cats talking loud and boisterous. But what you will never see is what I witnessed on social media and some of the alphabet boys. All right. You will never see a line of cocky black brothers like a football team get together and start pushing against the police officers. You will never see a black person yelling at the top of his lungs this close to a police officer's face, yelling, cursing, and this kind of thing. All right. That's almost a death warrant, and y'all know that. All right. What you will never see, armed. Now, we've saw this before at the Black Panther Party. We saw this with the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. We saw this in certain other instances when Khalid Abdul Muhammad was among us. All right. But what you will never see is brothers such as myself with about 50 brothers behind me, armed, confronting white police officers and those kind of situations. All right. We've already had experience with that, and we already know what that may lead to. But why is that there's a double standard here in America that you can find white people doing all of these things? All right. All of these things, and yet none of them get arrested. None of them get interrogated. None of them get hurt. None of them. All right. They're able to beat people up on film. All right. Now these things are documented. All right. If you go look at the brother that was beat, you will see that they were beating him. One neo-Nazi cat had his hand on his M16 while he was beating the brother with the other hand. All right. So what is it? I saw a very interesting meme. It said the reason why you don't see police officers there at the KKK rallies because they have the hoods on, or they're the ones that are kicking up dust. All right. Some of them go to the rally and then they kind of look at their watch and kind of figure this is their shift, so they go put the police uniform on and they come back. Someone says Pinky Privilege 101. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Sean. So I'm saying to you, with the clearest mind that I could say it with, all right, is there a racial double standard in America? Is there a way that we should protest and a way that they should protest? With us, you saw hands up, don't shoot. With us, you saw laying down, sitting in, laying in, fighting in, praying in, whatever hell else black people do. All right. And you still managed to get arrested. You still managed to get beat upside your head. You still managed to get dogs sicked on you. You still managed to get tased. You still managed to get tear gassed. All right. What is it about white protests? All right. And then I've noticed recently when certain instances went down with black people, I noticed black people got on the phone and called their white friends. So now when you see the quote unquote black protests, you're starting to see white people are out now. And trust me, white people, we understand how you feel. And thanks for joining those black people that protest, because maybe you have some issues that you need to get put on the agenda, and the only way you can get them on the agenda is if you use black people as cannon fodder. I understand that. I'm saying to you though, when you begin to get treated like black people have always gotten treated, all right, before, during, or after the goddamn protests, all right, don't come complaining and then you want to kind of change narratives. You want to change the playing field. you want to take over the movement now. So now when the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th March have to happen, i.e. Philando Castile, someone called me and told me, Griff, you have to see this. I'm like, what? What's up? This is a march because the officer was found innocent. And there's no black people out there. There's no black people in the march. All white people. What is it with us that if we're going to take up that way? Now, when I say protest, now don't get me wrong. There's many ways to protest, and I'm saying to you, we have mastered the non-violent frequency and vibration and spirit of protests. So much so, when we did the other types of protests, we got blasted for it, and we got vilified for it, and we got condemned for it. But when we turn around and do the peaceful protest, i.e. Colin Kaepernick, kneeling on one knee, bothering no one, in his own spirit, in his own head, connecting with those that want to connect with him around the globe, with just kneeling on one knee. All right? All of a sudden now, they galvanize their forces in a very quiet white supremacy, racism, white supremacy kind of way. And they marshal the quiet, silent weapons against him. All right? And prevent him from earning a living, doing what he loved to do in life. And that is play professional football for the NFL. Now, I know what some of you high brand, blacker than black revolutionary cats got to say about that. Why would he want to play football any way? Well, check this out. That's Colin Kaepernick's choice. All right. I don't necessarily watch football anymore, whatever. But I do respect the fact that he's a grown man and he's making a grown man decision to play sports. And if that's what he wants to do, all right, brother, got talent, do your thing. I am saying to you, all right, for him to take a bold stand and to risk millions of dollars, all right, to send a signal, not only locally, but globally throughout the world, to let people know that we're not going to tolerate. That's just his way of protest. Yours may be a different way. Don't condemn his. Mine may be a different way. All right. And y'all already know. Ain't nobody going to, Professor Griff is not going to be out in the street with the bullhorn, with the backpack and just yelling and marching. And I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to be the one pushed around and shoved and beaten and all that kind. That's just not happening with me. All right. I'm just cut from a different cloth. But anyway, protests. So let me ask y'all a question. What protest now is fair? What protest is legal? What protest is co-signed by the state? What protests, does protest even work? All right. The last 8 protests that you've actually witnessed and was probably a part of, which protests actually work? And then what do we actually protest for? All right. So if we're protesting the alt-right's legal right to protest because they feel that this is the undoing of America, I think the first question should be asked, which I think is a very intelligent question. Do you even know American history? Some of these snagger-tooth ass straw hat wearing, overall wearing white boys that's part of the alt-right. Do you even know American history? Do you even know who Robert E. Lee is or was in history? Do you know the history of America and Britain and the relationship? Do you know anything about, I don't know, this thing that keeps coming up, slavery? Do you know enough about that to know who the key players are? Do you know enough about that to know the laws that were passed down? Do you know anything about Jim Crow? Do you know anything about the Nina Pinta Santa Maria? I'm only joking. I'm talking about the grace of God, the Hail Mary, and the good ship Jesus that brought black people to America. Do you know anything about this? So that even if you've tried every way to communicate and voice your opinion and let people know in America how you feel, I don't think the way to do that is to show up with guns. You might want to show up with a history book. And let's say, okay, well, in American history, who was Robert E. Lee? And why should a statue of Robert E. Lee stand on a campus of higher learning? All right. And if it does, and some people oppose that, I think that should be debated on the campus among those that represent the alt-right and those that represent everyone else. But they don't want to debate that. All right. So then if we got past and we exhausted our means as far as the intellectual way of handling this via protest, which freedom of speech is part of the, if you study constitutional law is there. All right. So if it's not going to be debated on the campus, if it's not going to be debated online, we're talking about history now. We're talking about we can actually go figure out who this man was and what he represented. All right. We can go into American history and we can study the North versus the South, the Civil War that took place. We can study Abraham Lincoln. We can study Emancipation Proclamation 1863 to 1865. We can study the laws that was passed. We can study Reconstruction. We can go into this and we can piece it apart so we can get our not so educated alt-right brothers, your brothers. This is what I bought the book. Hold on. I don't want y'all to accuse me of anything. Michael Eric Dyson. This is what Michael Eric Dyson calls him. All right. So I just said to myself, okay, let me try to understand what Michael Eric Dyson and the intellectuals among us, let me understand what they're saying. So I said, okay, then if they are brothers, then why not? Let's talk as brothers and come and sit down at the table. And now let's discuss American history. But the reason why they're so angry is what I've always said about what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing has said. All right. The birth rate of white people is plateaued. All right. For every one white person dying, one white person is born. Well, that flip-flop now. And that's not necessarily the case. So I'm going to need everyone to understand this particular dynamic. What I heard and what I saw on social media and on the television was they want their country back. Okay. Can we just talk about that for a minute real quick? You're right, Richard Thomas, fear of a black planet. But let me ask a question. What country are you talking about? And I keep hearing, go back to your own country. Well, shouldn't white people go back to their own country if they want everyone else to go back to their country? All right. So if I said, well, what country are you from? You Irish American, then go back to Ireland. You Italian American, then you go back to Italy. You German. So, and I'm hearing go back to your country. Well, I think we need to kind of tad bit of history that you might have missed alt-right. We were kind of here before any European came over to America. We were already here. And then our Native American brothers were already here and we coexisted. All right. And then you had the audacity to come kidnap millions of black people, bring them to America in the holds of ship, enslave black people. Because I kept hearing, this is our country. We built this country. No, you didn't. A, it's not your country. Two, you didn't build the country. All right. I'm talking to the Richard Spencers of the world. And some of the snagger-tooth white people that I see on my other screen over here, I'm watching the protests right here, and it's like, wow. My first thing was to notice and take snapshots of all of the signs and symbols that I'm seeing, because, you know, I'm in that kind of spirit right now, the symbology kind of spirit, and I've noticed the signs and symbols, and some of them have to do with secret societies. If you look closely, like I look at them. All right, look at your TV right now. After you get off of here at 10:30 or whatever, go look. All right. So let's get a few things straight. So now, if what I'm saying is actual fact, not just my version of American history, all right, then we can go back and then we can see these things in history. I'm not sure if most of you have done this. I would take it that most in the generation coming behind me haven't, and I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying to you, most of y'all have not read or listened to the slave narratives. So for you, some of you black people, to say slavery never existed, the slave trade never existed, shame on you. For some of y'all to say it didn't happen the way the history books said it happened, okay, you may have a point there. But there is and was and still is an oral tradition that took place and that is now taking place. And I've always say, and you know I've said this, our story needs to be told to us by us. All right? So we need to understand that dynamic. Our story needs to be told to us by us. So now this whole idea of protest. Why can't black people get away with protesting the way white people get away or with protesting? Why can't we get away with it? I'm just curious. So I can show up, 40 of my crew, armed with red, black, and green flags, yelling obscenities to white people. F this one and F that one, and we can throw a lasso around the statue and pull it down. And then I saw young whites running to step on the face of the statue. It's almost reminiscing of how them same whites brought down the statue in Iraq, not Iraq, Iraq, and kind of brought it down and stepped on that's that same kind of spirit. I'm saying to y'all, without putting on my militant hat tonight, trying to appeal to the moral, intellectual, I'm trying to be kind of balanced and equal and all the cute little things that we used to say when we were filled with this whole civil rights kind of Dr. Martin Luther King kind of kumbaya, we are the goddamn world kind of vibration and spirit. I am really trying to. How are you? You good? All right. I'm trying to wrap my brain around the whole idea of in the end. All right. I'm hearing the little ones in the background. Can you mute your microphone for me? Thank you. I'm saying in the end, at the end of the day, all right, what makes you think that if we are out there protesting, at the same time, the laws in America are not changing to balance the equation out when you go get the loan or the job or any other area of people activity? What good is the protest? I'm saying to you, if we're not going to balance out we're not going to balance out this whole idea of truly making America what they said they wanted America to be. Are you following me? So if America is not going to be, and it's not to me, because I'm just under the notion that smart and intelligent white people that understood Dr. Francis Cress Welsing know that once people get into the melting pot, and this is no, I'm not throwing shade. What's up? I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying to you, if we all got together, probably in 50 to 100 years, white people will disappear. All right. So that dynamic is just not going to happen. All right. I think what the alt-right is saying, we want to keep America white. We founded this country. This is our country. We want to keep America white. So the question I want to ask to the alt-right, and maybe y'all know some of them, and maybe y'all can have them call me. I don't mind. What are you supposed to do with 30, 60 million of us that are here in America? I'm just curious. Like, what are you supposed to do with black people, and then the Asian people that are here, the Mexican people that are here, the Native American people that are still here? What are you supposed to do with everyone else if you just want to? I'm just saying to you, I guess from the alt-right's perspective, through the lens that they're looking through, I guess that's a good idea. You want to make America great and you want to make America white, but what are you supposed to do with everyone else? I'm keeping my temperament right here. All right. So I'm just asking some questions that I think the bobbleheads are too intelligent on CNN and some of these other stations. They're not asking basic, in-your-face questions to some of these individuals. Now, we can honestly say, Sheldon Sparrow, there is a plan of genocide to get rid of black people. We know that. All right. So at the same time now, all right, at the same time, them wanting to take the country back, I would implore that they kind of sit down for a minute and ask, how did they acquire the 2,000 by 3,000 square miles in America? And then we can talk about this. If we can get past that conversation, I think I can begin to even wrap my brain around understanding their position, because I don't understand their position. You come to this country, you take the land from the Native American and the black people that were here, then you bring black people here in the holds of ships, make them work the land for 400 and some odd years, build it till it gets to this point now, and then now all of a sudden, because you've committed genocide on the Native American and you've attempted several times to do that to black people, and you don't care nothing about poor white trash, you don't care nothing about Asian, Mexican, Muslim, Puerto Rican, Latino, brothers and sisters, whomever. You just want to make America great again and keep America all white. Stop that.
Hey, that's my shawl.
Stop that. First of all, how mathematically, how can that happen? So I'm just asking some basic questions that I don't hear. I'm not saying, when I say I don't hear, I'm not all knowing. I'm not everywhere. But from what I'm studying and what I'm seeing, I don't hear the basic question being asked. I would like to stop one of the white supremacist dudes and be like, can I ask you something? When white people came over as Vikings or Christopher Columbus or America Vespucci or whatever they claim, didn't you meet people that were already here? So how was it your country? Just want to ask that basic question, and hopefully I would get an intelligent answer, and then we could kind of move forward. But no, you craft laws and documents, i.e. the Constitution and the amendments to the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and all these other documents, written and unwritten. I'm going to say that again in English. Written and unwritten, and the unwritten law in America is a lot more powerful than the written law. Trust me on that one. So I'm saying to you, all right, even when we go into the Black Law Dictionary and we unravel what the truth is and we present it back to you, you still don't respect it. Even when the Native American brothers and the Moorish Science Temple and the Moorish brothers and the Hebrew brothers get together and they dig up the information, Sabir Bey and other people, Tariq Nasheed, hold on one second, on the move. Peace. Pam, I'm doing my show right now. Let me call you back. Is that cool? All right, I'll call you as soon as I'm done. All right. All right, on the move. All right, that was Pam Africa from Move Organization. Anyway, I'm saying to y'all, I think we need to kind of understand where these brothers are coming from when they're digging up statutes and laws and wanting to be sovereign and this kind of thing, trying to approach our struggle from that angle. Other brothers want to form gun clubs and they're approaching it from that angle. I've sat and watched Negroes in their Negro-ness on CNN try to protect the slave masters' ongoing pursuit on trying to solidify certain coons and Negroes and bootlicking handkerchief head Uncle Tom and Uncle Thomasine and Aunt Thomasina's and put them in place in certain places in the government to speak for them. All right. We all know what they smell like. We all know what they look like. All right. That trick is not going to work anymore. But we have brothers now on all fronts that are coming at this thing and trying to understand it from a legal perspective, from a moral perspective. And it's sad to say this, but I have to say it. I didn't hear too much from the religious people about what went down. All right. Where was the I saw what Tim Wise wrote. I heard from a few Negroes, some of the well-to-do whites. I didn't really hear from them. I'm just, when someone asked me just off the cuff, me watching this and seeing some things in passing, I hastily made a statement that someone had to call me on. They called me, we had a conversation. It was cool. It's not something I'm gonna come on here and apologize for. Matter of fact, while we're talking about that, let me tell you what I said. They asked me about what I thought about what I saw. And I said it was white on white crime at its best. So when they called me on, it's like, well, what do you mean by white on white crime at its best? I said, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that you will see certain white people, i.e. the John Browns, stand up against racism, white supremacy in order to establish justice. This is why some strong white people that fight and ride and die for the black cause harder than some black people do, all right, have their place. Some black people may disagree with that. Be that as it may, it's still a reality that we have to deal with. All right? I'm saying to you, coming from a military strategist perspective, I'd rather those white people be on my side than against me. Now, you can write your funny ass comments. Matter of fact, you ain't even got to do that. Call me, 678-557-2919. I'm saying to you, in order, at the end of the day, when all of this is said and done, some of you that are blacker than black and so goddamn militant are eventually got to sit down and we're going to discuss some things in a room at a table with people that don't look like you and me. All right. In my mind, at 57 years old, that's a reality for me. Want to establish a land that we can call our own and set up our own laws and govern ourselves. While we're in this situation, I think you might need to rethink your position. All right. And if you fire back and say, I need to rethink mine, then trust me, I'll do that. But at this point right now, I know some brilliant black minds that's willing to sit down with anyone to talk about the land rights. So if Elijah Muhammad is correct in what he said, that we need 8 to 10 states that we can call our own, do we need someone to go speak to these people about that? All right. Listen, man, some of y'all need to get out your own way, for real. All right. Some of y'all, all y'all know is being violent. So then at the end of all of the violence, you still got to come to a peaceful resolution, even with yourself. All right. Okay, so now listen, I open myself up for you to disagree, but I'm just saying there's a way to disagree. All right. I'm thinking about the great brother Fred Hampton. He was on point exactly with what you're speaking. Okay, you understand that. I understand that. I'm saying to you, I've talked to the most militant ones among us, and they had to at least come to terms with the fact that we don't make the guns nor the ammunition. So when you run out of them, that box of 100 bullets that you got in your drawer that you don't have for 5 years, that are probably rusty as fuck, I'm saying to you, who are you gonna get your ammunition from?
My permission to go, but they told me that they don't think that there's going to be.
And if you still have your mouth and your stomach in these people's kitchen, I'm talking about Murder King and Drunken Donuts and Toxic Hell and some of these other places. All right, here you are talking tough on the internet, but you still going to these people to feed you and your children. You know you need to stop that. Land is the basics to economic freedom. All right, so I'm not saying to you, all right, that we shouldn't go out and stand up for what we feel is right for us as a people. But if people understand your plight and willing to move your plight forward, all right, I think we need to learn from the past and learn from the mistakes that we've made in the past. All right, no one should be able to come in and take over any of our movements. All right. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Y'all are thinking Black Lives Matter. I just don't consider Black Lives Matter our movement. That's just me. All right? Because if I started a movement and George Soros, who just so happened to be rich and white, and one of them other people come in and finance Professor Griff's movement, then is it Professor Griff's movement? Because he who pays the piper normally calls the tune. Right or wrong? So I'm saying, let's be very, very, very clear as to what we're dealing with when we're seeing the kind of protest that's going on and what they're protesting for. You're talking about a damn statue. Let me flip this. Somebody send me a, somebody type in a predominantly Jewish area in the city. New York, whatever. So whatever that place is, all right? Can you imagine a statue of Hitler being put up? Now I'm talking about you empathizers and sympathizers, all right? And even the ones that don't necessarily agree with what I have to say, all right? But I can't, Midwood, I don't know where Midwood is at. Shaq said Brooklyn. There's certain parts of Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Thank you. You come over the Williamsburg Bridge, all right, a whole lot of Jewish people. Can you imagine coming over the Williamsburg Bridge in New York and coming down and right at the end of the Williamsburg Bridge, all right, there's a statue of Hitler like this where Jewish people live? But imagine that. See, you can't even wrap your mind and your brain around that. So Bill Willis said, leave the damn statues up. I don't think I necessarily agree with that, Bill, but I'm not saying you don't have the right to say it. I say take the statues down and put the statues in a museum so that we all can benefit from, and you can have an educational moment and a teaching moment. Put the statues in the museum. What's wrong with that? We could have Confederate Row in every state, in every city. All right, where the Confederate Army did their thing, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop. You understand what I'm saying? Because most of what We suffered. They kept hidden from us when we went to go look for it. And then they put it in the museums, all right, where it's behind glass casings where you can't even touch it, all right? So now the Black History Museum, African American History Museum in DC was built. Beautiful museum. You can go there and see remnants and aspects of what Black people went through, right? I'm saying to you, and this is just Professor Griff, all right, because I'm keeping my temperament here this week, all right? Put the statues in the museum. Rope them off. Put plaques where we can learn from the past. All right? What the alt-right and the ultra-alt-right is trying to do is change history. Do y'all realize right now they're trying to write Black people's plight dealing with slavery out of American history? Yeah. So we're not saying we don't want the statue to be up. We're saying, yeah, let's just go take it and put it somewhere else, right? So in case we want to go learn about that aspect of history, we go to the museum and we can learn about it. All right? I'm sure in the SWAT, Southwest Atlanta Territory, over by Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, we can't put up a statue of Nat Turner. Can we? Can we go to Roosevelt, Long Island, right? Well, Roosevelt ain't really Black no damn more. Hold on. Give me a place that's all blacker than black. Can someone tell me, please? Because, yeah. Okay. Any of them places that's Black. Can we just go put up a statue of Nat Turner? No, because you see, the painful reminder of what Nat Turner did, Bill Willis said Detroit. It may not be that way in a minute, the way them people are buying up that property, but let's just say Detroit. Michael Fairfield, stop that, man. Harlem may not be Black in a minute. What they're doing. I'm just saying to y'all, Detroit, South Carolina, DC supposed to be the chocolate city. Can you imagine if we went and put up statues of the Mau Mau? Statues of Nat Turner? Statues of Zulu kings? And can you imagine that? I'm even talking about Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth. All right? Can we put up a statue of Malcolm? Where's there any statue of Malcolm? Can we do that and no one say anything? No, but you see, white people will look at that as a painful reminder. All right? And they will protest to the hilt, man, for real, in order to get those statues taken down. All right? We must understand this particular dynamic. And I said it before. Hold on. Where am I? And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I'm looking for my book. There you go. Y'all thought I was crazy a minute ago by putting this together. Symbology, the psychological covert war, all right, on hip-hop. But it's a reference book of subliminal seductive manipulation of consciousness and cultural retrograde. Symbology. They are fighting at each other's throats, killing one another over a symbol. Wait, I need y'all to marinate on that for a minute. Come on, man. I know some of y'all have written me off. That's cool. I understand. But I got a point here. I'm not trying to sell a book. I got a point here that the symbols that I put in the book, and I told you about the swastika, I told you about the noose, and taught you about these statues that they presently have up. I'm talking about the statues that they have yet to take down in some of these cities. They've taken down most of them with the tiny little white penises hanging off the testicles in some of these cities with some of these statues. Go to Pittsburgh and some of these other places. You'll see them. All right. We went into aspects of what these statues mean on a few pages in the book. I put the statues and the symbols that's on the money and other things. All right. They're at each other's throat over a statue and what it symbolized. Shouldn't you do enough research to figure out what is moving them to want to kill one another over whether a statue stays up or it get brought down? Bringing the statue down is a lot deeper than what y'all think it is to these people. Trust me, it is. It's almost like bringing down their civilization, dismantling their leaders. All right. It's a whole lot deeper than what y'all think it is. That's why I put it in the book. The whole idea of the studying of signs and symbols and what they mean to a people in their culture. All right. What does culture mean, and how aspects of culture is the glue that keeps people together. All right. And the only way people can sustain themselves in the present and in order to carve out a future is if you know your history. They're trying to preserve white history for white children so that white children can thrive and survive into the future. All right. They not dare let the truth come out that the majority of the inventions in America are by black people. Most of what America seems to call great comes from black people. They're never going to let that out. So what do they have to do? They have to take the wise ones among them to go and tell a different kind of narrative in reference to what actually happened in history. Brothers and sisters, they did not go to Africa to get savages, to bring savages over to build their country. I need y'all to think about this seriously. They got gods and goddesses. They got engineers. They got scientists. Most of the inventions that were invented during the period of time that we post-slavery, I know, but during the time that we were enslaved, black people came up with those inventions to make the workload lighter for black people. White people just stole the inventions and put their name on it. We need to understand this particular dynamic. I'm not trying to have a history class here, but I'm saying to you, study and read a little. So we have to understand this for what it is. So for Richard Spencer, the alt-right neo-Nazis, KKK, whoever they are, to want to come along now and change that part of history, all right? You just can't. You just can't. Notice white people didn't call us lazy during slavery. We did all the work. But as soon as we came up out of slavery and we were able to take days off and sick days and vacations, all of a sudden black people are shiftless and lazy. Come on, man. Come on. Listen, if my mom was alive and she could come on here and tell you, I didn't kick up any dust about the level of education that I got from Roosevelt Junior Senior High School. I wanted to get enough so I could get the hell out of school so I could go study what I needed to study. Okay, so I spent 2 weeks in college. I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pay them people to lie to me. But I didn't let it stop there. I said, okay, if I'm not going to get educated in that way, let me go educate myself. So when I started educating myself, someone else called me professor. I was DJ Griff, and I'm sure some of my relatives on here know that. I was DJ Griff. I wasn't professor back then. Someone else gave me the name because I began to be the studious individual, all right, coming in and out of and coming out of the ranks of the Nation of Islam. It's just one of those things that you had to do. You couldn't operate on branch knowledge. You had to get the root knowledge. So if I'm able to see forward and I'm looking into these people and why they do what they do on a subconscious level, and I put it in help Public Enemy, the brothers in Public Enemy craft songs and put it in the song, and then I craft books to put it in the book so you can read it for yourself. All right. That's just something I did. That's a small accomplishment on my part. But there's no big I in little you. All right. Y'all know the way I operate. I am because we are, therefore I am. All right. And I don't come on here speaking the King's English, using 19 syllable words to try to sound intelligent. No, I want to say it as plain as possible. There's a system called racism, white supremacy. All right. The alt-right, whether you call them the alternative right or whatever you call them, all right, have the same idea that the Cheeto dude that's sitting in the White House right now has in his mind. Making America great again and taking the country back. It's the same thing. It's the same. This is why he couldn't fix his lips to denounce them. Because what's in their heart is in his heart. And I'm sure everybody but Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles see it. But Stevie Wonder see it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just real. Stevie Wonder says, when you believe in things that you don't understand and you suffer, superstition ain't the way. You just can't make shit up. All right? It is what it is. All right? So let's understand this particular Dinah Edward Scott. Yeah, even the 666 is not theirs, bro. The 666 is ours. They just took it and added the demonic thing to it and, you know, rewrote and did the remix to the Bible and ended up putting it in the Bible. But that 666 thing, that's our science, man. Now I know y'all listening to me, especially some of y'all religious folks out there. I hope my Aunt Carol is not watching this because she probably passed out. But I'm saying, they take our sacred symbols and use them for subversive purposes. This is our science. So we'll get into the 666 thing later on. As y'all know, I wanted to do part 2 of the last conversation we were having in reference to on the implantable biomicrochip. But we'll have to talk about that at another time. So my question about protest, I hope y'all are able to put some of these things under the magnifying glass and piece them apart to understand the whole psychology of protesting. It probably worked for Dr. Martin Luther King, civil rights movement. This is 2017. I doubt that's going to work. All right. Coming off of a protest, we have to have some action items. And you see, this is the reason why I'm not one of those that protest, because if I'm going to go out there and have my blood spilled on the streets of New York and probably end up spilling someone's blood, and then I come back home, what is it good for? All right, if I don't have some action items in place that's going to move black people forward. All right, in my heart of hearts, and I know I'm going out on a limb to say this, in my heart of hearts and mind of mine, have I ever thought of this America being this utopia, being this, or this, the whole grandiose idea of all of us in a melting pot getting along and it's going to take some time for me to grow to that level. Could I live in a mixed neighborhood? Yeah, of course. But it's not America. The neighbors to my left and my right might not be the typical average white, not the typical average white American that grew up on Public Enemy. Of course, I can live next to them. All right. Coexisting, as Richard Thompson says, as one human family under the divine law of the Creator, regardless of what you call the Creator. Mr. Janelle Muhammad, I'm not talking about integration. I'm talking about coexisting. All right. Coexisting is different from integration. I'm not talking about bringing everyone together and we just all get together. No. Coexisting on a planet which is 196,940,000 square miles. I am not sitting as the grand exalted potentate ruler to determine whether someone lives or dies or can't live here or can live there, or I'm not the one to determine that. Racism, white supremacy has set themselves up to be that deciding factor, not me. All right? Okay, so let's not twist the conversation, all right, and make it seem like Professor Griff is getting older and getting weak in his position. No, I think some of y'all need to do what I'm doing, is think clearer, because you have to start thinking 7 generations behind you. All right? And let's start, because in my mind, I feel, know, and understand that I'm going to have to be brought to the table where we negotiate some land that we can call our own. Now, if that's not in your mind for us building a black nation for ourselves so we can govern ourselves, so we can stop being ruled by other people, I want to carve out my own destiny. You understand what I'm saying? Can I do that with some other people living in the neighborhood? Of course I can. There's other people living in America that have carved out an existence for themselves. Guess what it's called? Chinatown. Little Italy. Places like Williamsburg where Jewish people live. Hell, the Amish people. Like, you go through Pennsylvania, you see people living among themselves. So it's not a difficult thing to think about it. It's very simple to think about. All right? You just have to look past yourself. All right? To be able to want to share this with everyone. Listen, there's enough land that'll feed everybody on the planet. But we just have these greedy people that put a system in place. You understand what I'm saying? That causes the have and the have-nots. I've talked too much tonight. I hope y'all catch the rest of this on Brother Richard's show, Black Magic 363 on YouTube. All right. I'm going to be in Jacksonville, Florida this weekend. And I need y'all to go to www.professorgriff.me to check out my classes that I'm giving. And also I need y'all to go to www.IM Soleil. Hold on for a second. Where is this flyer at? Let me read this to you. Soleil is actually giving an online class. Soleil, can you put this up in the what's the name here, so I can read the flyer off to the people? All right. This whole idea of womb wellness, this whole idea of nourishing the goddess from within, Soleil decided to do a class, an online class. And if you want to register for the class, I believe it's IamSoleil.com. All right. You can go to the website and you can register. All right. Or you can go to her Facebook page at Tanya Johnston and you can register. All right. If you're confused about all of that, I'll just put the information up on my page, my Facebook page, and you can get it from there. All right. But anyway, it's www.IamSoleil.com/events. It's called Nourishing the Goddess. That's www.IamSoleil.com/events. And the class is called Nourishing the Goddess. We have to begin to work on ourselves so we can balance out ourselves. I want to be able to be one of those individuals that I can connect, all right, with anyone, so we can bring about realistically, all right, for our children, something that we can actually call our own and stop depending on other people to feed us and to take care of us before we end up being useless eaters and beggars in America. All right. That has nothing to do with going against any white person. All right. That's taking the time and the energy to build ourselves. What the alt-right do is on them. If they feel that they have to have an armed struggle against other white people, then you do your thing. All right. So Soleil's class is an introduction to healing modalities for women on a biopsychosocial level. All right. Go to www.IamSoleil.com/events. This is your brother, Professor Griff, the Minister of Information, Public Enemy. Revolution is not an event. It's a process. All right. I got to get prepared for Brother Richard's show in about 45 minutes where we're going to piece apart what happened in Charlottesville. All right. Because it could easily happen in a city near you. And trust me, they are coming. I told you they were coming. It wasn't a question of if, but when. And they're coming now. Any place you decide, all right, that you want to take down a Confederate flag or change some rules, regulations, and some laws, they are coming. Trust me, they are. Notice I didn't get on here talking we should be armed and we should do whatever. But I am teaching a class on emergency preparedness. All right. So I must have saw this coming in order to know, to put the class together to teach us on how we're going to survive in urban terrain. If you want to take the class, just hit me up. 678-2919. Or go on my Facebook page and check out the flyer. Go to www.professorgriff.me. Register for the class. All right. We need to talk survival techniques. We need to talk the black pack. We need to talk the bug out bag. We need to talk survival in urban terrain. We need to talk about how we're going to conduct ourselves in when these things go down. Because as you saw on TV and on the internet, they are armed to the teeth, right or wrong. Sherry Griffin says, when is the class? August 22nd and August 24th. It's online. All right. It's online class. August 22nd and August 24th. All right. All right. This is your brother, Professor Griff. I got to sign out. I love you all to life. Revolution is not an event. It's a process. I will see y'all next week. If not next week, I'm going to broadcast live from Jacksonville, Florida this weekend. All right. I love you all to life, man. Peace. This is Professor Griff. I'm out. As we used to say back in the day, Audi 5 Gs.